Alright, so welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. I am your host, Rodney Stewart. Before we get started here, I just wanted to give you a little heads up to the website that we have going here, coinsagemedia.com, or if you're old school, www.coinsagemedia.com. Everything that we're doing beyond this podcast is over there. There's a lot of stuff from years gone by and short films that we made and lots of our random nonsense as far as a vlog channel and that sort of thing. It's all over there, really. It needs a little bit of updating, but most of it's there right now. So if you call back to that once in a while, you'll discover some of the nonsense that I'm trying to get doing. Get doing? There's a friggin' new way of saying shit for you. Alright, so in this episode we're getting into season 5 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer's episode 2. For some reason my words don't want to come out properly tonight. This is territory within the series of Buffy that is not really fresh in my head, and it's going to be a bit of fun going through this series in particular. The only thing being, I don't like to say it about the woman, but the character of Dawn was introduced in the last episode, played by Michelle Trachtenberg, and God love her, she's dead and gone now far, far too early. But if memory serves, like as I say, this series in particular is a bit of a blind spot for me. But the one thing I do remember is how annoying the character of Dawn was in the series. And I remember turning a lot of us people off back in the day of just how much of an annoying little character she was. But we're going to be watching it through fresh eyes here and see if time has changed the opinion in any way. And unfortunately, Riley is still in the series at this point. No harm to him, but a character I just could not take seriously at all. He just, like, especially in the whole initiative storyline where he was playing the hardcore army guy, and whenever he put on that, oh look at me, I'm a hard man face, it just didn't work for me at all. Anyway, this episode here, coming up at the end of the last episode, Giles was thinking about, heading off, starting anew somewhere else, and Buffy finally works out that she still needs him as her watcher, giving him some renewed energy for her life and renewed purpose. So in this episode starts off with them training. He has her in like a meditative state. She starts doing this handstand on a block of wood. At one point she removes one hand from the pedestal, kind of like the sequence in The Empire Strikes Back where Yoda was training Luke. So maybe a little bit of a nod to that. I don't know where it was or not, but it is what it is. We see these crystals in the background as all this is going on. Giles is talking her through this, keeping her in this meditative state, and suddenly we hear the crash of the crystals falling, and Buffy too loses her concentration, falls on her face, and lo and behold, little sister Dawn sticks her head in above Buffy and asks, "Can we leave now?" Opening sequence to the episode. Back at home while preparing breakfast, Dawn annoys Buffy by taking her bowl, emptying the milk carton. It's a fairly genius way of doing it. It's like everybody's doing their whole morning routine here. Everybody's getting their breakfast sorted out. Nobody's really concentrating on what the other person's doing. And Buffy sets out a bowl, goes for the cereal and whatnot. And each time she goes to do something, Dawn takes the bowl, fills the bowl full of cereal, and takes the last of the milk. Mother Joyce asks Buffy to take Dawn shopping for school supplies. Riley shows up, reminding her that they had already made plans. So he's there for a moment or two, disappears. Last you see him in the episode. It's not a bad thing in my opinion. Buffy has to cancel him. She has to go to work with Giles. She has the renewed interest, of course. Giles is driving her and her sister to do their errands. Her mother has forced her to take Dawn with her to sort out stuff to go back to school and whatnot. Joyce, she's got like her job is like an art museum sort of a thing, and she's got plans for the rest of the day there. So Dawn, been a bit on the young side. Joyce wants her looked after all the time. So yeah, Buffy's trapped with her and whatnot. They're in the car with Giles. He's got this new BMW convertible, and he's complaining about the fact that it's automatic, and I just want to be doing more instead of just sitting here and not contributing to the drive, sort of thing, in his very British way. And he's kind of giving off to Buffy about the whole thing about don't be so materialistic in the way that you think about things. While they're heading there, they spot Willow and Tara. They're heading towards the music shop, and he's like, oh, after the big speech about not being materialistic, he's like, oh, they haven't seen my new car yet. So he drops off with them. They get into that conversation and whatnot. Yeah, so Buffy tells Willow that she's going to have to drop the drama class in favour of more Slayer training. Up to this point, Willow was, all up for the renewed interest in the whole work ethic thing. It's like, it's amazing you've got this work ethic and, it's so good for you. But once she finds out that Buffy is going to drop drama, she kind of freaks out a bit, I want you to do the drama. You told me, you promised me, sort of thing. So we get into the whole flipping teenage friggin' blah 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 of it. They get to the shop. The gang finds that the owner is dead, killed by vampires. And Buffy sends Dawn outside before she can see the dead body, where she encounters this man who's one of these crazy people that kind of walk the streets talking to themselves. And he goes over a lot of nonsense before telling her, you don't belong here. And this is the first of the setup to what's going on with Sister Dawn. Scattered throughout this episode too, you do have little references that are fairly subtle in places, but it leads you to believe that Dawn has always been here. So at some point throughout the series, you discover who Dawn is, and memories have been changed to everybody to think that this woman, this young girl, has always been here. So this is the first guy that has seen the other side to Dawn. And as I'm talking about it now, something's waking up in the back of my head. I may remember something from the series. But yeah, I will go down that road. I think it's somebody that's not mentally stable, let's just say. Someone that's just off kilter a little bit. They're leaning more to the crazy side of life. They're the people that kind of work out who she is first. Might be completely wrong, but put a little bookmark on it right there. Might be right, and if it is, yes, I have got more useless information tied up in the back of my mind than any normal person needs to have. Giles inside the shop starts admiring it for its profit potential, even though they're trying to work out what happened to this guy. Willow sees that the vampires took books on the Slayer, researching up on the Slayer, obviously, and cheap unicorn figurine has disappeared as well. We cut over to the new vampire threat in town for this episode. Turns out to be Harmony, and if you remember who Harmony is, she's the clueless little minion that used to hang out with Cordelia, and not a brain cell in her head. If brain cells were dynamite, she couldn't blow her nose. So she's got herself a few vampire minions, and she's congratulating them on the successful raid and informs them that she now has information to attack the Slayer tonight. Back over at Buffy's house, Dawn is happy to have Xander as a babysitter until she discovers that Anya is there too, with Tara and Willow unpack over in their new dorm room, and they discuss how Dawn is having a hard time as an outsider to the Scooby gang, and Tara can relate to this because she also has similar feelings as an outsider to such a tight knit little group and what it is. We cut over to Buffy once more. She's out on patrol. I made a mistake, Riley, as on the episode again, he's in this scene. And for me, he makes such a great impact on you that you never forget when he's in there. Sounds like I really hate this guy, Riley. It's not that there, it's just up until this point, for the character of Riley, as I said, that whole initiative soldier thing just didn't work for me. Just one of these guys, when he was playing it sort of cool, the cool sort of teenager sort of a vibe, whenever they were posing as students at the university, yes, I get that. That was completely believable. But once he, went into soldier mode and he brought that hard-nosed face down, that stiff upper lip sort of a thing, it's just like, I do not believe this guy at all. Like, even if he showed up with, it doesn't matter what he turned up with. Like, if he turned up at my door in the morning with that face on him and putting the whole vibe through, if he was telling me World War III was starting, I wouldn't believe him, even if there's a mushroom cloud in the sky behind him. Just not a good performance at all, in my mind. Buffy, she's looking to vent to him about the lecture she received from her mother about allowing Dawn to see a dead body. Riley tries to make her see Dawn's perspective, pointing out that Dawn and her, like, they resent each other for similar reasons, more or less. Being the, kind of the voice of reason. At this point, Harmony and her minions arrive at Buffy's house to challenge her, but she's disappointed when she finds out that Buffy's not there. So Xander, he's in the doorway and he's taunting Harmony and her minions from the safety of the house until Dawn starts getting uppity as well and starts there's like a slagging match going backwards and forwards between Xander and Harmony, and Xander's acting the big man here because he knows like a vampire can't enter the house without an invitation. So Dawn, getting upset and wants to get in on it, she mistakenly invites the vampires on the side. She's like, well, come in here and say that. But luckily for Xander and everyone, the way she phrased it was towards Harmony on her own and not the other vampires, so the rest of them aren't included in the invite. Harmony gets on, there's a bit of a brawl in there, but the other vampires are trapped outside the house. She puts up a big fight, but Xander manages to get her kicked out of the house, and when Buffy and Riley return home and Xander tells him about Harmony, Buffy can't stop laughing at the idea of Harmony, of all people, even though she knows Harmony's a vampire, being the leader of a gang and wants to take her out. But her tune really does change whenever she discovers that Harmony can now get into the house at any point thanks to little sister Dawn. So there's the only way they're going to have to try and work this out is try and get a cleansing spell for the house to get Harmony kicked back out of it again. Back over with Harmony, her and the vampires are hanging out, talking about their plans. They encounter Spike in the graveyard, and he teases her. They used to date with each other. He's teasing her about plans to kill the Slayer. Harmony forms a new plan of attack. Not really so much a new plan, but a plan to, she blatantly stole off Spike whenever he was, making fun of her and whatnot. Are you going to kidnap someone that she loves, set up a trap so the Slayer walks in and you can kill her, sort of thing. He's kind of taking the piss out of himself for the stuff that he did in the past and didn't work out. So Harmony steals this from him, and they're going to head off and do this. Back at the house, Buffy complains about the trouble Dawn causes and how she can't always be there to protect her. Dawn's listening to this from the hallway and she runs outside in tears. But there was a moment at the end of that little rant that if she had stayed and actually listened to what Buffy was saying, Buffy did kind of trail off at the end of it and, kind of be a little bit softer. So like, Dawn hears what she wants to hear, more or less, and that is something that's going to be quite a running thing throughout the series. If memory serves, like as I say, the annoying level of this young woman is immense in the series. Enough that it actually, back in the day, whenever this here first came out, I think I was engaged to be married at that stage, or just prior to getting engaged. So like I was dating, had a lot on my plate with working full time, traveling 2 hours every day just to do that, then trying to just juggle everything going on in life. So I can't really recall the series that well because of that. But the other thing was, a lot of the guys that used to watch this show around at the same time as me, a lot of my friends, a few of them dropped off in this series, all because of the character of Dawn. It's just like, it's almost to compare it to something else. It was, if you're old enough, well, I was going to say if you're old enough to remember Scooby-Doo, but most of us, like everybody knows who Scooby-Doo is. But back in the 80s, whenever they introduced Scrappy-Doo into the Scooby-Doo series, that killed it for a lot of us as well. A lot of guys that were into that show back in the day, whenever we were children, absolutely loved whenever Scooby-Doo was on. We'd sit down and watch, and it was good. It was good TV. But then you had Scrappy-Doo be introduced into the series, and every time the show was going to get down a path that you were kind of enjoying, Scrappy-Doo would pop up and just be a little dickhead. And it's like, come on, I'll slap you, come on, stick him up, shaking his fists at the bad beastie of the episode. And everybody detested that little shit. So much so that they actually made they made Scrappy-Doo, the villain of the first live action Scooby-Doo movie. And that there, if you don't know why they did that, that was an apology to the fans that grew up with the series and felt that it was destroyed by the flipping Scrappy-Doo character. So it is what it is, and that's how a lot of us felt about Buffy the Vampire Slayer whenever Dawn came into it. It was just like whenever the show was starting to get interesting, starting to go down the way, you were kind of like, yes, this is good, this is great stuff. You'd have her, hey, beep, 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 nobody likes me, nobody understands me. Shut up, Dawn. I'm ranting a lot for a show I can't recall a lot of in this episode, but it is what it is. That's what it was back in the day. It used to be me and a couple of friends would sit down, I think it was Thursday evenings, they would show the new episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like 6:30 in the evening. You just had your day's work done, rolled up, got a bite to eat, sit down in front of the TV, throw your feet up, watch a bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and like up until this series, there was like 3, maybe 4 of us that would sat down religiously to watch this series. But whenever this one happened, most of us dropped off, and me being one of them. I was kind of like, I didn't drop out of the show altogether, but I wasn't rushing to see each new episode every Thursday. It's all down to this little character. So anyway, maybe again watching it now for this podcast might see it in a different light. So back to the episode. Dawn runs away, not listening to anything that's going on, and she runs out into the garden. Harmony's minions attack Anya. Anya tries to stop her from running out. She's just like, it's not safe out there. The minions show up, like, you're dead, right? They capture Dawn. Gosh, I thought I was going to sneeze there. I'm sorry. They capture Dawn and they knock out Anya. Buffy runs out to find her sister whenever she discovers what's going on, leaving Xander and Riley to take care of Anya, who requires hospitalisation. Now, as I'm sitting going through the notes here, and I've just kind of pulled up a synopsis of the episode just to keep myself right on here. After that initial meeting with Riley, that's the last we see of him in this episode. You can go back and check it. I did say that. But going through the notes here, he's actually in quite a bit of this episode. But again, don't really give a damn about Riley. Harmony at her lair explains to her minions that Dawn is a bait, meaning that they can't eat her. Harmony then starts complaining to Dawn about her problems of trying to lead and the stress she's under and all this sort of thing. And it's like, you don't know what it feels like for people not to listen to you and this, that and the other. The thing about that part of the episode is like, she has Dawn tied up, chained up, and she's going over all this stuff, and Dawn's there and you go, I can kind of understand that because nobody listens to me either, sort of a thing. So the minions have had their little discussion outside, and they come in and decide, you know what, Harmony, this plan, it's going to work whether Dawn's alive or not, so we don't like your plan. So what we're going to do now is we're going to eat her and we're going to kill you, not necessarily in that order. So they turn on Harmony at the end of the episode, and one of the vampires goes to go for Dawn, and Dawn says, if you lay a finger on me, my sister's going to kill you. At which point the vampire is staked, and Buffy shows up. Can't say she didn't warn you. Then tells Dawn to close her eyes, and the fight commences. She takes out most of the vampires in fairly quick form, and the last big vampire, a little bit of trouble with him, but she eventually stakes him with the horn of a wooden unicorn that Harmony had there as her little obsession, her little trinkets, stuff she likes. Yep, everybody's killed. Harmony's ran off. The Slayer frees her sister, and there's a moment there between the two of them. It's like, they're bitching at each other, just like siblings, really. And how dare you run out and get yourself in trouble? Blah blah blah. And Dawn bites back with, "Well, I'm going to tell Mum that you slayed in front of me." A little bit of back and forth bitching, but whenever they get home, the mother's there and asks how did everything go, and the two act in front of the mother like nothing happened. So there's a little bit of quiet respect level between the two sisters at the end of the episode. Next day, Buffy and Giles talk about his decision to take over the magic shop, and Dawn is sitting there writing in her journal that Buffy still thinks she's a nobody, but she's going to be in for a surprise. So they close the episode out there. I should say the most of this episode, there's it's all like through diary writings, more or less. There's a voiceover from Dawn on and off throughout the episode about the people in her life around her, and so it's done like that there. There's a lot of voiceovers from Dawn throughout the episode, and then you see her actually finishing off at the end of it, writing in the notebook. So I'm just going to look down here and see if there's anything as far as the reception for this episode. Right, Real Me had an audience of 3.9 million households upon an original airing. Pop culture references. There's some references to goofs within the episode. In the scene where Tara and Willow are discussing Tara's feelings as an outsider, a microphone can be briefly seen. At the end of the scene where Buffy and Dawn are riding in Giles' car, a man's hand can be seen on the right side of the screen of the car. I didn't notice that. I need to look this sort of shit up before I actually watch the episodes, just to see that. I love a little continuity error and movies and TV shows. One of my favourites is the Goonies, whenever the Chunk has escaped and he's trying to go get hold of the police, and he flags down a car to try and go to the police, and it just happens to be the Fratellis. And the Fratelli brother that sings starts to sing his little thing, chunk. He's like, realizes who he is, and he kind of goes, and then the guy does it properly, starts singing that great song, and the camera cuts to Chunk, who's screaming and backing off. If you look at the rear view mirror in that sequence, like, you can hear the guy flat out singing his heart out, but in the rear view mirror you can see him with a cigarette in his gob, taking a big pull from the cigarette. I think that's going to do it. I don't actually see anything as far as reception to the episode, but I'm just going by the way I remember it back in the day. Hopefully it's not the series that I recall. Didn't hit at all first time around for me, and most of the guys I was hanging out with. It's just like, yeah, it is what it is. But that's it. That's a little chat about episode 2 of season 5. And, again, I don't like to talk bad of anybody that's passed away, but the character of Dawn was just unbelievably annoying. But again, it is what it is. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. I'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll have a little chat about Angel season 2, episode 2. I think we are with that. But yeah, we're going continuity with Buffy and Angel on Mondays and Tuesdays. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, if you enjoyed this episode, and you do like the Angel episode, I'm a bigger fan of the Angel series than I am of Buffy. I'll say that much. Come back on Wednesday, we'll have a little chat about that, and if memory serves, it's a fantastic episode. So I'll see you all then, and stay safe. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.